Hey y'all, it's Virginia. Thank you so much for tapping in to watch my sweet heat pulled butternut squash. I'm super excited about this recipe. I love to take traditional Southern recipes and sort of turn them on their head. I've long had a belief that Southern food does not have to be unhealthy. Southern food is more than fried food. And actually, traditionally, Southern food is a vegetable-based cuisine. So if you've seen me at UMass before, you know that I've preached that. And then one thing that I wanted to share, I think that since I saw y'all last spring, I've lost almost 50 pounds, right? So that's no small accomplishment for anyone, much less a chef. And I'm not telling you that just to brag, although it does feel good. The reason I'm telling you that is because I haven't radically changed my diet. Obviously, I'm eating more in moderation, but one of the things that I have done is I've increased my plant-based foods. I have, obviously backed off on meat. I've increased my exercise, of course, but the main thing is like I haven't gone off and done like Whole30 or keto or any of those other diets. I have just modified my regular diet, right? So that is what I like to bring to the table with my recipes, and that's what I'd like to share with you here today. So here I have some spiralized butternut squash. You could also use spiralized sweet potatoes, and I've also done both vegetables grated, right? So you can either spiralize or grate them. And there seems to be something about the long fibers that prevents it from completely breaking down. And here I have my version of a Memphis dry rub. So this is what I call sweet heat. This is a combination of brown sugar, salt, pepper, cayenne, paprika. If you wanted to use like a pimenton or a smoked paprika, you could certainly do that. So, and then also there's a little garlic salt. So use your favorite dry rub that you would normally use for pork. And then obviously this is going to be determined by your quantity and how many oven racks, etc. But this is just enough to take the raw off, right? So this sheet pan, it's 400 for about 10 minutes. So we don't want to overcook them. Too much higher, you start making fries. Too much lower, you cook it to mush. So a little bit of a high heat. So this will go into our oven for about 10 minutes. And then now I'm going to show you a coleslaw. So I know y'all know how to make coleslaw, but I wanted to share with you a couple of tips that I have done once again on how to sort of dial back things without dialing back the flavor. Now our barbecue is going to be completely vegan. We can make this coleslaw vegan or vegetarian. So if we're going to make it vegan, then obviously you would want to use a vegan mayonnaise, a vegan yogurt, and then make a vegan buttermilk or use sort of like a kefir or something like that is vegan. This coleslaw is vegetarian, so here I have some mayonnaise. And what I normally do, so mayonnaise, the funny thing about mayonnaise is like its own food group in the South. We love mayonnaise with everything. And one of my favorite things is it'll be called pimento cheese salad or pasta salad or something salad, but the main ingredient is usually mayonnaise. So what I do when there's a recipe that calls for mayonnaise is I sub out half of it with yogurt, right? So I'm using, I prefer the Icelandic 0%, so something like Siggy's. The Icelandic 0% I find is still nice and creamy. When I'm using a Greek yogurt, the lowest percent I like to personally go to is 2%. I find that the Greek yogurt at 0% can be kind of chalky. So I just simply combine the mayonnaise and the 2%, all right? And then we want to put a little apple cider vinegar in. And we're just simply making a dressing. And then I'm also going to add just a little bit of Dijon. So this is more like a traditional Southern style coleslaw. And some recipes will call for sugar. That sweetness, that's something that you can do. You can add sugar, you could add brown sugar. Up north, I know that they would add maple syrup. You could also add a little honey. And then the last component of our coleslaw dressing is some buttermilk. So once again, if you wanted to make it vegan, then you needed to sort of make your own vegan buttermilk. But that is it. And we're gonna put in just a little bit of salt, not too much. The yogurt's salty, the buttermilk is salty, and some pepper. Okay, there we go. And then now I've got my coleslaw base, and this is just thinly shredded. But what I also wanted to say is you can add some things to it. So let's just kick it up a notch. I'm going to add some jalapeno pepper. And what I'm doing here is I'm doing what's called the box cut. I simply cut the 4 sides off the jalapeno, and I don't have to worry about seeding it because I've seeded it in the process of cutting it. And then I'll just remove these ribs and cut it into a brunoise. And you know, you can adapt your coleslaw to include different vegetables. You can include, you know, obviously cabbage is nice. I'm going to put some celery in there as well. Green onion is good. And then I wanted to also share with you, I always put a little Vidalia in there, but you know, I'm from Georgia, so I'm gonna always include Vidalia onion whenever I can. But a nice sweet onion. All right, so I've got my jalapeno. I'm gonna add that. And then I've also got some celery. So I'm gonna slice the celery in some nice thin pieces, because we are going to put this coleslaw on our sandwich. So I have some thin pieces of celery. All right, we'll put that in. And then I've got this beautiful Vidalia onion, and I wanted to just show y'all this so you'll see how it's a little squatty. That's an indicator of a Vidalia onion. It's just the kind of onion and where it's grown. All of these recipes are going to be on the UMass website. So I also have, I'm going to share a recipe for you for my family's barbecue sauce. And you know, barbecue sauce is pretty much like religion down south. And people get pretty uptight about what's in it. But the thing is that it's hyper regional. Georgia has a tomato-based sauce. Alabama has a mayonnaise-based sauce. South Carolina, many parts of it have a mustard-based sauce. North Carolina has 2 distinctive styles. There's Eastern and Western. And then you get into Tennessee. In Kentucky, they have they do burgoo, and they will barbecue lamb and mutton. So barbecue is a thing, which I'm not going to try to solve for you here today. But this is my family's version, and this is a combination of vinegar and tomato with lots of pepper, and I've got some onion in there, and Worcestershire and lemon and Dijon. And once again, you'll find the recipe on the UMass website. So, okay, so I've got my vegetables, and then I'm just going to pour over my dressing. And you really, you know, there's so many nice, bold, strong flavors in here that you can't taste the yogurt, right? So that's the part that I think is so important, that when we're making these modifications in the recipes, and when I'm making the modifications to try to lighten things up, that we don't lighten things up so that it detracts from what the original flavor was. All right, I'm going to add just a little bit of green onion too. Of course, I'm going to save all my scraps, make a potassium broth or a vegetable stock here. All right, there we go. And this will last for a couple of days. This it just gets a little bit better. It does get a little bit wetter. Oh wow, that looks delicious. So fresh and vibrant and crunchy and yummy, yummy good. All right, so butternut squash, you just basically, like I said, you kind of just cook it a little bit to take the raw off. So here I have some, and it just sort of shrinks down, and we don't want to overcook it because then we have mashed butternut squash. All right, so I have here some barbecue sauce. And once again, you could use your favorite, or I'm going to share with you my recipe, my family's recipe. Oh my God, tangy, just enough heat. I love it. I love it. And there's nothing like it, like homemade barbecue sauce. And then here I have a bun, right? So vegan, go vegan, or a vegetarian. But I've got my bun. So I am going to take, obviously, like if you're making it for food service, we're going to take it and put it into a bowl and pour over the barbecue. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do it right here. So I'm just going to pour over just a little bit. We don't want to drown it. Hush up. We don't want to drown it, but we do want it to be wet. We do want it to be like that pulled pork consistency. And you know, I know that there's jackfruit, and I know that there's a lot of meat substitutes, but the thing that I love about this is that it's not processed. It's something that you already may have, and then the great thing is that something like this could also be a side dish for people that want to eat pulled pork, but they also just want a side dish. So, oh my gosh, that looks amazing. So I'm gonna take a heaping helping of my butternut squash barbecue. All right. And then I am going to just pile a little bit more on there because why not? Because I can. All right, and then I'm going to take some of my freshly made coleslaw and put that on top. And then we're just gonna put a little bit more sauce on here because we can. All right, there we go. And put a lid on it. Put a lid on it, y'all. There you go. Sweet heat, pulled butternut squash barbecue sandwich with homemade coleslaw and homemade barbecue sauce. Thank you so much for watching. Bon appetit, y'all.